On the battlefield in Ukraine, there are signs of some progress in the country's counter-offensive against Russia. It appears Ukrainian forces have penetrated Russian defences along part of the southern front lines in the Zaporizhia region. Both sides reporting intense fighting around the village of Robotyne, which Ukraine says it secured earlier this week. It comes as Kyiv steps up its attacks on Russian-occupied Crimea. Meantime, the Pentagon says the US will begin training Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets in October. They'll be learning to fly those jets at an airbase in Arizona. And we've got team coverage for you. CNN's Oren Liebman following the latest on the F-16s from the Pentagon. Melissa Bell is in Ukraine's capital. And Melissa, let's start with you. From the perspective where you are now sort of stepping back and having a look at the big picture, as it were, how does what we are reporting today now fit in?
Well, this was, Becky, a long hoped-for glimmer of hope on the Ukrainian side. This has been a grinding counteroffensive carried out, of course, towards the east of the country and the southern front lines for 2 months and 3 weeks. We're just coming up to the 3-month mark. The point is that that village that you mentioned, Robotyne, that has now been claimed by the Ukrainian side, does represent a substantial advance beyond the first line of Russian defenses. And that, of course, is important, not just insofar as it allows Ukrainian forces potentially to begin expanding that wedge into the Russian defenses, but it is, of course, important in terms of morale and momentum, the two things that we're going to be looking at over the course of the coming hours and days as Ukrainian forces try and consolidate those gains. What we understand is that there is a good deal of fighting further to the east of that village as well, where Ukrainians say they are also making advances. And perhaps most importantly, what we're hearing from the Russian bloggers on the other side are tales of dispirited morale, poor defenses, and a lack of manpower. And this is something that we're also hearing from independent voices, Becky, and I think that's important, notably the DC-based Institute for the Study of War, which is suggesting also a lack of manpower at those defenses on the Russian side. And of course, the good news for the Ukrainians, if this turns out to be true, that are at Robotyne and beyond it, they could now be heading towards the second line of Russian defenses. So this is an important moment in the war, and what happens next will be important in telling us whether those degradations have been sufficient to turn that momentum, that crucial momentum, to the Ukrainian advantage. Becky.
Melissa, thank you. Oren,